Hello, everyone. I'm Lee Klein, and I was very fortunate to have attended Indiana University from 1996 through 2001 to study with the laboratory of Dr. Dennis Peters to earn my PhD there. And then I stayed on and I taught at IU for 2 years after that, from 2001 to 2003. So I was at IU from 1996 till about 2003, in total about 7 years. And I was very fortunate to do that and spend that time with Dr. Peters. And I wanted to share a few of my remembrances of him here with you today. I hope you enjoy it. I think this might be one of the best pictures I ever took of Dr. Peters. It's taken in his backyard, at my graduation celebration party that he hosted for my family. You can see the date here in the bottom of the photo is May of 2001. Seated in the background are some of my family that are all seated around the tables there on the patio behind his house. And here he is poised, about ready to cut his homemade cheesecake. He was very proud of that cheesecake and often said that it was very dense, that it had the density of elemental osmium. It was so heavy. And so before he cut that cheesecake, we asked him to pause for a moment before he made the first cut so I could get around and get my camera ready to take the picture, which everyone found to be really cute and amusing, and um, turned out to be one of the best pictures I took of Peters. Everyone is smiling. It was a good moment, and there he was doing something that he did so often, and that was treating people to a meal, having a good meal with somebody. In this case, a very happy occasion at my graduation party. So thank you for that, Dr. Peters. I never did learn the recipe for that cheesecake either. So if anybody has that or knows how he did it, reach out to me and send me an email. This is another one of my favorite pictures of myself with Dr. Peters here. I am standing with him in the lab just after my thesis defense, and we're standing here next to this rather ancient looking equipment, which those of a certain age in the labs will all recognize. Maybe students today in his labs would recognize. Maybe apart from this top device up here, which is an XY chart recorder. When I first started in the labs, we would record traces, voltammograms, and so on strips of paper, sheets of paper, with an XY chart recorder with pen and ink on paper. And then we would take those into the offices, place them on a flatbed scanner, scan the image, and then convert the image to XY data points using calibrated marks. And then we would take that digitized or unscanned image into graphing software to make a graph for publication purposes. All of that from, very old-fashioned analog equipment like you see here below. Um, and I guess the point I would make about all those things, besides it being a long time ago and being rather antiquated, old-fashioned technology, was that it seems like, Dennis Peters wasn't the kind of person, obviously, um, that put a lot of emphasis on new technology, but that wasn't the point, though, was it? The point wasn't the new technology. The point was the scientific method. The point was asking the right questions, developing your skill set in the lab, um, and learning to express your ideas precisely and concisely, um, and learning to be able to build an argument for a consensus around some idea, for which analog instruments with cables are all perfectly adequate. Something that I think Dr. Peters knew very well. Something else that I'll remember about Dr. Peters, and others I'm sure will have pointed this out, was that he was a lifelong fan of Indiana sports, especially the men's basketball, for which, of course, they're well known. He was a season ticket holder, and he would often take students to games with him. And I don't know what this says about me. I mean, I think I recognized fairly early on that that was pretty special, that he would do that. He would offer to take me with game to him with games, with him to games. I kept many of the ticket stubs. I think I kept all of them, and I collected this image some time ago, a long time ago now, for his 65th birthday and 40th anniversary celebration. And I found them and I put them back here in this presentation here. So I have this list of ticket stubs and another one to follow. And here they are. Something else that I remember, of course, and a lot of nights with Peters, I think all of these correspond to games as well, is that we would often stop at this Chinese restaurant and have a meal of Chinese food on the way home from the games, or maybe it was before, I don't remember. But again, I don't know what it says about me, but I saved the fortunes that I would get from my fortune cookie at the end of the meal from each of these meals that I would have with Dr. Peters, and I kept them and made an image here, which I again shared at his previous celebration, and here they are again. Um, I remember one particular meal. We were sitting down to eat, and Dr. Peters had gotten up to the bar to get his selection of items he wanted. He sat down, and he in that particular meal had gotten a lot of the sweet and sour chicken, which is really just bits of chicken dipped in dough and deep fried. And what struck me as being really funny about it was that I don't know if we were talking about how it was just like really oily or that it was fried chicken or that it was really bad for you or whatever, but he sort of leaned over his plate and he had this chicken in front of him and he was saying like, oh, it was so high in fat. This is just really, really high in fat, like as he was eating it. And for whatever reason, it just struck me as just being absolutely hysterical that he was commenting on how high in fat it was while he was obviously enjoying it. And it was very good. For some reason, that just stuck in my mind as being really funny. And it's one of the memories that I have of Dr. Peters. Of course, one of the most important things that was so special about Dr. Peters' labs were all the people in it, and that Dr. Peters had lifelong, long-term collaborations with people over many years. Dr. Muhammad Mubarak of the University of Amman in Jordan being one of them. Here in this photograph, you can see Dr. Jacques Simonet. I'll tell a story about one of his students in a moment. And this is Dr. Maria Medeiros, formerly of the University do Minho in the Porto area in Lisbon, in the Porto area, Portugal. This is Dr. Albert Fry, Wesleyan University. And here we see some of those same folks again. Here's Dr. Fry again, his wife, Maria again. Um, a story about Jacques Simonet was that it was fairly early on in my graduate school career. I'd only been there, I think, just a year or two. Maybe it might have been my first year. He had a graduate student that spent some time doing work in Dr. Peters' lab. Her name was Sylvie Prigent. I don't have a picture of Sylvie anywhere. I just didn't ever take one. But one day I was in the lab with Sylvie, and I think Kent Alleman was there, and I think Mike Samide was there. So again, it had to be like my first year or two that I was in the lab, and we were just kind of joking around, talking about culture, American culture, French culture, and Sylvie Prigent had, of course, naturally a very thick French accent, but her English was very good, but very thick French accent, and we were joking about how Americans sound. And in an instant, in the blink of an eye, Sylvie um, immediately went into a very accurate, very good representation of an American sort of country style. And she broke into something to the effect of, howdy, y'all. And it was just absolutely hysterical that this accurate representation of sort of a country American accent came out of the lips of someone who otherwise spoke only French, and her English was otherwise very thickly accented with her French culture, her French language. It was just absolutely hysterical. Kent, I don't know where you are today, but maybe if you remember that story too, you can back me up on that. That it just stuck in my mind as being something that was absolutely hysterical. But I really enjoyed that interaction, working with Dr. Mubarak, Dr. Simone, Dr. Maria Medeiros, Dr. Fry, and others over the years, and it was because of Dr. Peters. Had it not been for him, I wouldn't have met any of those people or known any of that. During one of the taco manias that Peters hosted at his house, um, when the event was kind of winding down, we were all, I think, in the basement of his place having drinks and maybe desserts. I recall in one of these events that a container of some fruit juice was being passed around, and us being us, one of us turned the container over and examined the list of ingredients on it and came across one that we didn't know what it was. It was just listed as a colorant in the juice. This juice was a bright red color, and so um, I don't remember now exactly how it happened, but I think that Peters had a Merck Index on the shelf nearby, and he picked it up and promptly looked up what the ingredient was. Um, and it turns out that the red colorant is attributable to this molecule here. This molecule being the aluminum salt, mixed salt, aluminum salt of carminic acid, this molecule on the top and bottom halves. And the natural source of carminic acid, and the one listed as the ingredient on the fruit juice, is called cochineal extract, which is derived from a very small insect, which I believe naturally inhabits certain cactuses and has been known for centuries. So these tiny little insects, I wouldn't have even known that was an insect having looked at it. That these tiny little insects, even today, are still a fantastic source, natural source for this material. They're collected, processed, extracted, and then the carminic acid is then formulated into this salt, which we call carmine or cochineal extract being the listed ingredient as the colorant on this fruit juice. And I can tell you that that revelation there in the basement of Dr. Peters' house was absolutely hysterical. And I'm sure that if you asked anyone who was there to this day, if you just said cochineal extract, I'm not even sure if I'm saying the word right, but cochineal extract is how we said it. If you just say the words cochineal extract to anybody today, it'll immediately bring a smile to their face because of this discussion that we had. Yeah, we were drinking the ground up processed bodies and extract of little wingless insects, and it was pretty good. Well, I think I've taken up enough of your time, but I just wanted to say thank you for listening to me again. I hope to see you all again one day, and I just want to say in parting that Dr. Peters, wherever you are, I just want to thank you very much for everything that you did for all of us. You made all of our lives better. You made us all better scientists for sure. You made us all better authors. Um, some of us are better speakers. I'm not sure that I'm ever been accused of being a good speaker, but you sure were. And I just want to thank you for doing everything that you did for all of us, for IU, for so long, for so many years. Take care, everybody. Bye bye.